Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and as we all know, we're in the midst of a very boring international break. It is quite literally the calm after the storm that was deadline day, the Champions League draw, the Glasgow derby. Now nothing's going on, and I hate it, because I feel like there's bugger all to talk about. But we've got a few things we need to dance over today, which includes Celtic's registered Champions League squad, an update from the Scottish international camp, a few other things in between. Let's talk about that. If you haven't already, please make sure to go down below and hit like and subscribe. I can't thank you enough for the support that we had throughout the summer there, throughout the entirety of the transfer window. But the season is only just starting. We have a full year to go now where we're going to talk about results, Champions League fixtures, transfers again in January. Stick by me the whole way through. Make sure to hit like and subscribe, and remember you can become a channel member as well below by hitting that join button. Let's get into today's video. The Champions League is upon us. As we all know, we're not too far away from the kick-off in Europe's premier competition. Celtic will kick off their Champions League campaign against Slovan Bratislava in just under 2 weeks' time at Celtic Park. And today, or should I say last night, we got the official announcement of the 25-man squad that has been registered for said competition. So we talked about this a little bit yesterday. We said there was going to have to be one first-team player that would have to be left out. There was 3 potential suspects for me of who that could be, but we have the final confirmation on who that is as we get ready for this new format in the league phase of the Champions League. Here's a quick reminder of our fixtures, dates and venues on screen now. So as I mentioned, Slovan Bratislava, that is the first game, an 8 PM kickoff on the 18th of September 2024. It's all eyes on that game. Every Celtic fan buzzing to take on Slovan Bratislava and kick off our Champions League group phase games. Dortmund, Atalanta, back-to-back away games, Leipzig, and then Bruges at Celtic Park. Our last game before the new year will be on the 10th of December at 5:45 against Dinamo Zagreb before we take on both Young Boys and Aston Villa in January of 2025 to finish up our Champions League group phase campaign. Hopefully we'll be into the knockout rounds after that, or at least the playoff rounds. Very ambitious, of course, but we'll need to wait and see how these 8 fixtures go. Brendan Rodgers, though, already European football after Christmas. What a manager. Not a worker in the business like him. So the squad for our Champions League campaign then, that was announced last night via UEFA.com. We'll have a closer look at that now, and we'll look to see who the unlucky bugger who's missed out is. The goalkeepers, Kasper Schmeichel, Viljamisson, Salo, Scott Bain, of course. Our defenders consisting of Alistair Johnson, Greg Taylor, Liam Scales, Austin Trusty, Alex Baye, Mike Nawrowski, Cameron Carter-Vickers. Somehow Rio Hatate down as a defender. We know that's wrong. Anthony Ralston and Stephen Welsh. Midfielders, Luis Palma, Kyogo Furuhashi, Nicholas Kuhn, Yang, Luke McCowan, Arnie Engels, Paulo Bernardo, Callum McGregor and James Forrest. And our registered forwards, Adam Ida, Adam Montgomery and Dyson Maeda. Ignore UEFA for doing very little research. Of course, Kyogo, not a midfielder. Rio Hatate, certainly not a defender. You get the gist of it by now. They don't quite grasp who plays where for Celtic, but that's what they're registered as nonetheless. There is your 25-man squad. You can see that basically all the big hitters are there. Mike Nawrowski is back after missing out last year after we just signed him. Of course, Adam Montgomery is in. We needed someone else to come in and make up the numbers for the 8 homegrown players. The guy that misses out this time round, well, it's Odin Thiago Holm. Here is a look at our squad depth when it comes to the Champions League. Then I have put Adam Montgomery over at left back because when we've seen him most recently for Celtic, it's either been as a left midfielder or a left back. So I've just put him over there for now. I would be surprised if we see even a glimpse of Adam Montgomery in these 8 games. But of course we need those 8 homegrown players. There is your squad. Essentially the exact same of what I had on screen yesterday. The only difference is I had Mitchell Frame. Brendan's chose Adam Montgomery. So Yeah, the big exclusion, Odin Thiago Holm. He's been left out after being registered last year for the Champions League. He was there, you remember, he was given the red card against Feyenoord on match day 1. This time round, after some public criticism from Brendan Rodgers, he misses out, and he's unfortunately the guy who will stay at home when we're going to Dortmund and Bergamo and all these away trips. There's no place for Odin Holm. Even though I did mention Odin Holm's name yesterday as one of the 3 players I would expect to see cut from the Champions League squad, I'm still taken aback a little bit. I'm still surprised that he's actually went for him. The 3 guys that I mentioned were Mike Nawrowski, of course, Yang at the right wing, and Odin Thiago Holm. And I really did think it would either be Nawrowski or Yang that would be left out. I think that the situation from the Lazio game last year in Rome maybe scared Rodgers off dropping one of the wingers. Remember, we went to Rome with Luis Palma and James Forrest, I think the only 2 fit wingers at that moment in time, so maybe he wanted to keep Yang. Mike Nawrowski maybe being kept because, you know, if Vickers drops out, you're left with Stephen Welsh, Austin Trusty and Liam Scales. Maybe it was the most logical option to leave Odin Thiago Holm off the registration. At the end of the day, we've got Rio Hatate, Paulo Bernardo, Arnie Engels, Cal McGregor, Luke McCowan. It was probably the area that we can trust the most in terms of depth. But wow, a huge letdown for Odin Holm. But one I can't say is a shock, and one that he's probably seen coming. Brendan Rodgers hasn't hid his criticisms. You'll remember these comments from back in July. Brendan Rodgers was very open about Odin Thiago Holm. When speaking about him and Bosun Lawal, he said they need to be a much higher level. If you're going to play for Celtic, you have to be. Odin needs to do more. There's something there though. Absolutely. You've seen Francis Turley. He's come into the game and he looks good. Looks like there's progress. He'll be a proper player. But then in talking about Holm and Lawal again, he says the 2 boys definitely have talent, but I want more, a lot more talent. Talent is just not enough. You can play in teams, but not in our team. So Brendan Rodgers was very vocal. He compared them to young Francis Turley, who's obviously a younger player, a much newer player to the Celtic fold as well. Holm was brought in with a lot of expectation. He was shortlisted for European Golden Boy this time last year, and from there on, he's just not kicked on, and I think that's probably down to what's happening at Lennoxtown. He's clearly probably not putting in enough effort. He's not played to the level that Brendan Rodgers maybe expected when he signed. So his Celtic career is really up in the air at the minute. I did think that Odin Thiago Holm probably should have been loaned out this season so he could play some football, but alas, here we are. He's been left out the Champions League squad. He's been given some sporadic minutes so far this season, but now with the signing of Luke McCowan and Arnie Engels, I think those sporadic minutes are going to disappear very quickly, and January is already a big conversation for Odin Holm. So we'll wait and see what's said in the next few press conferences, and especially the press conference ahead of the Bratislava game, to see if there's any comment on that. And it'll be very interesting to see what happens with Odin Thiago Holm in future games, if he'll get minutes off the bench here and there, or if his Celtic career is in the pan. Not my place to speculate, but it is starting to look that way. Anyway, Champions League games, your packages, your tickets, you'll probably know by now. It is going to cost for an adult £184 for the 4-match package. That works out at £46 per match. £36 per match for concessions, and for under 13s it's £32 a match. Of course, if you're on the Home Cup ticket scheme, these prices will be taken off per match ahead of each game. But if you're a season ticket holder that's not on the ticket scheme, then remember, you need to get your package bought. Don't forget it, please. Whatever you do, get that done. Your deadline is September the 9th, which is Monday. So don't forget, get your tickets bought ahead of the Champions League. I just can't wait for the international break to be over. You know that I want Celtic back already. Following on from the momentum of the Derby win, I want to get into the Champions League. I want to get it started. We have a very busy September/October when things get going again. I can't believe there's another international break on like the 7th of October. I believe the second international break is the 7th to the 15th of October. I wish we could just ban them. I just want club football. That's it. That's all I need. Seriously. Anyway, talking about international football, we better talk about Steve Clarke in Scotland for a minute, because there's a big story surrounding James Forrest and Greg Taylor of obviously Celtic and the Scottish national team. You've probably heard by now that both Taylor and Forrest have dropped out of the Scottish national team for this break. That's due to small injury concerns, nothing too major, which Steve Clarke thought there was no point at risking. Of course, Callum McGregor not with Scotland, so only one Celtic player is with the national team at the moment. That's Tony Ralston. Steve Clarke, though, has commented on the matter and given an update on both players. He said that the two boys from Celtic came in at the weekend, got assessed by our medics and were sent home. It's easy because they're in Glasgow, so there is no drama on that one. That's essentially it. I know, what a wet fart. You were expecting something big, but no, essentially they've been assessed. They have a couple of niggles and they just don't want to take the risk with them. So that's good. I would rather they weren't taking the risk. I'd rather they were given a couple of days off from training and allowed to fully heal. But yeah, good. This is why I'm glad Callum McGregor has, because that's the thing, you know, I don't mean this in a bad way. If Taylor and Forrest were any of the two players to get injured on international duty, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Forrest, we've got Kuhn. Taylor, we've got Baye. You know, it's not the end. But McGregor, oh God, I don't want to lose the captain. No way. Yeah, hopefully both boys are fine though. Hopefully it's all sorted soon, but they have been sent home. And that's about it for today. Yeah, typical international break stuff. Don't worry, I have got plans for videos over the next week or so before we get Celtic back next weekend. But just going to have to remain patient. I hate this time of year. I hate it. Keep up the support, lads. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Shout out to everybody who has joined the 118 Club or the Thunder Club thus far. Thank you for your continued support here on Ryan 118, and enjoy your moment of glory here on screen.